Hey YouTube, today I'm going to be doing a deck profile on really, I guess it's kind of like a really budget deck. This is my Narukami deck, so this is what it's been reduced to since Stride became a thing, since we moved into the G Vanguard format. So I've been running Dragonic Vanquisher as my main, like my only Narukami deck, because Narukami is one of those clans that I just basically built by pulling cards and never really focusing on the clan at all. But surprisingly, compared to other clans like Tachikaze, Nupatama, and other ones like Spike Brothers and stuff, these guys, they kind of just got cards over time just from collecting a bunch of cards. So this is what I have. It's a really budget-friendly deck. Really relatively easy to build. There's a couple of cards in here that are, I guess, sort of hard to find now, but they're really not all that hard to obtain in terms of like price and stuff. So, main vanguard of the deck, of course, is Dragonic Vanquisher. He works really well because he works well with the new Thunderstrike support, like the G Guardian and stuff. They can benefit from him because of his on-strike skill, and then he has a pretty decent GB2 skill because he's got critical pressure. So there's always that going for him. Otherwise, you almost don't see anybody play this deck. I'm not really sure why. I think it's pretty fun, but people still tend to prefer brawlers and eradicators. I never liked brawlers at all, and as for eradicators, I always only had like one descendant. So the eradicator that I always used to like was Sweep Command. Sweep Command is still pretty okay in here. It does give you that like ghetto budget style next stage play. Which is, it's funny that it exists, but yeah. So Sweep Command. His Limit Break can't really be used too well in this deck unless you already have GB1, because there's really no way to activate it, and it's an extremely expensive effect as well, with Counter Blast 2, Soul Blast 2, so you almost never see that. Also, this deck doesn't run enough Eradicators to really get the on-ride effect. But I do have a couple of Eradicators in here, so they could be useful, but it's most likely not gonna happen that often. Unless I'm calling like my draw trigger down the field, which usually is not gonna happen. Next, grade 2s. I'm running 4 Voltage Horn Dragon. This is like one of the main key cards of the deck to retire and bind stuff. So 4 of it is a must for a budget deck, of course. I don't think it's really that pricey. I think I got mine like really cheap when they came out. Then 4 Cloudmaster Dragon. This is the new Thunderstrike card from GBTL5. It's the power gainer, so when it's placed on R, it gets 2,000 for each of the opponent's cards in the bind zone, and then your opponent can't intercept. So it kind of gives it a weird little Seal Dragon type of effect, which is pretty cool. Basically, the new Narukamis, they gain more powerful effects based off of the number of bind cards. That's how Thunderstrike works. Bind cards in the opponent's bind zone. And then for just the Eradicator play, and on the turns where you like double ride Sweep Command, you have Zoitin to potentially unflip, or put him in the soul for Sweep Command if you want to retire something. So he's kind of there just for that purpose. For grade 1s, I'm running 4 Dragon Dancer Anastasia. The deck can be pretty counterblast heavy with the on-stride skill, with Sweep Command's Limit Break skill, which almost never happens, but mainly because of Voltage Horn and Vanquisher's on-stride skill. So that's the reason why I run Anastasia. Then 4 Mighty Bolt Dragoon, because Sweep Command he's kind of a pretty decent backup, I would say. But Vanquisher's definitely the one that you want to use, so you can make sure you get your Thunderstrike skills for that game. Then 3 Dragon Dancer, Bernadette or something. But yeah, basically Thunderstrike 2 skill. This essentially is like a 10k boost. And on top of that, when it gives the unit 3k that it's boosting, so it's kind of like a 10k boost to boost properly. And then so it's really good with this guy, but it can also be used behind the Vanguard. So basically, counter less 1 when the attack hits the Vanguard. The opponent chooses one of his or her Vanguards, retires it, binds the card face up. So it gives you more bind and retire capabilities. And it's a back row booster unit that does that. So pretty good overall. Next, 2 Ceremonial Bonfire Eradicator Castor. So Castor is just good. Castor is really like the main one that you want to run, or you like hope to call this out so that in the early game, so that you can have it on the field for Sweep Command if you're going to ride Sweep Command that game. Otherwise, Sweep Command's on-ride skill usually fails when you ride him, but it won't fail that badly on the turn where you ride him from the battle phase with the starter's effect, because usually the starter will be sitting on the field, and on top of that, Castor or Zuitin might be on the field, so there's always that potential. And then for the trigger lineup, honestly, it doesn't really have to be the ones that I'm using in terms of the fact that I'm using the draw trigger Eradicator. You can run whatever draw trigger you want or whatever trigger lineup you want, but in my case, I'm running the 4 draw, the 8 critical, and in this case, I am running 4 of the Vanquisher critical and 4 of the Eradicator critical, and then 4 Eradicator heals. Now, honestly, the trigger lineup doesn't really matter because, like I said, the only card that will ever require an Eradicator is the Sweep Command, and that's only when you ride him. Other than that, the trigger lineup doesn't really have to be Eradicators at all, so it can be any heal, Narukami heal, Narukami criticals. You can run the Genie thing, the Film of Victory clone, as well as like Brawler heal or whatever. It doesn't really matter. Just trigger lineup. I tend to go with 4 draw, 8 critical, just so I can have some extra hand, because it is a defensive deck, kind of like Kagero. And then I am running, for the starter, I am running 2 copies of Eradicator First Thunder Draco Kid. He's not GB restricted, so he is really good as a starter because of Sweep Command as a backup, just so that you have that extra Eradicator card that you can call down and use with Sweep Command. And the extra copy is in there, like, just to be able to do the restand. But usually, this isn't used with this skill. I would not recommend using this with this skill. I'd recommend using it to re-ride him, and I'll explain that here. So for Stride deck, 2 of the new Conquering Supreme Dragon, Voltec Zapper Dragon. So this is from the latest Fighters collection with G Guardians. So this is Thunderstrike 3. So it's not all that great with Sweep Command. However, I will point out that it can work with Sweep Command as a Vanguard, because Voltage Horn Dragon, as well as your Dragon Dancer, these 2 allow you to get bind stuff, and then this gets Thunderstrike 2. So basically, a Voltage Horn will be the one that's binding stuff. So that's why 4 Voltage Horn is really pretty much the most essential thing here in terms of the grade 2 requirements. But yeah, definitely works a lot better with Vanquisher. And Vanquisher, honestly, because of the 4 Vanquisher Searchers, he's usually the one that you're going to see most of your games. So the deck does basically play the Thunderstrike style. Next, 4 Lightning Dragon Knight Zorus. Zorus is here at 4 copies because you do use him really well with Sweep Command. So essentially, you need him, and this guy, and a random boost like this. So you will attack with him. If they let it hit, oh, and your starter is like right here or something. If they let it hit, then starter goes in the soul. Oh, because your opponent chooses one of his or her Riggers, retires it, chooses 2 cards to the opponent's bind zone, and binds it face up. So because something's getting retired due to effect of Vanguard that has Eradicator in the name, and Sweep Command is in the heart. So basically, this goes in the soul, and you check top 10, and look for Sweep Command, and you see pair right Sweep Command. So it becomes like this, and then you can just do more stuff with him. And then on top of that, I do want to point out that Voltage Horn and Suit Command does work pretty well together with Limit Break skill, although it is very counterblast heavy, which is the reason why we run Zoyton. So, moving on to more stride units. So that's for this guy. So you can tell just by what I'm running that it's really budget. And then one Blizza, one Atmos, two of this. I'm not sure why I'm running two of these, but I am. But ideally you would ideally you would actually want to run two of the Vanquisher stride, but I don't actually have that card, so you can stride it once. And then for G Guardians, I'm running three Lightning King, Spirit Emperor, Viritra. Works well with Thunderstruck 1. So as long as you, I mean, obviously it doesn't work well as a first G Guardian, but assuming you bind something with one of these two at some point, or the stride, if they let it hit, I mean, you're going to be striding this guy a lot. This is pretty decent in here in this deck, particularly. Then I'm running two Desmel to protect stuff like Zoyton and Voltage Horn, because Voltage Horn is really important to this deck. And then the one Scryu. Scryu at 1. 1 is the maximum I'd ever run this card, because you can't use it as first G Guardian, and on top of that, you drop 2 cards from the hand for this. So essentially making it kind of like a perfect card, or like a maxed out Quintet Wall at best. So anyway, guys, that was my budget line Narukami deck. Let me know in the comments what you think of Sweep Command and Voltage, or Dramatic Vanquisher, how they stack up to the Eradicators like Twin Buster or Gauntlet Buster and Brawlers. And looking forward to seeing your comments on this deck and what you'd suggest on the Grade 2, Grade 1 lineup, stuff like that. And as always, guys, stay tuned for more Cardfight Vanguard videos in the future, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks.